Chris here again. Let's go ahead and bake our controller. So inside of Substance Painter, I'm going to go to File and New. Make sure template is PBR Metallic Roughness. Where it says File, I'm going to click on Select and choose the low poly controller, which should be in the data folder of my project folder. Then I'll hit Open. Document resolution should be 2048. And then I can hit OK. I'm going to hit F in the 2D viewport. And then I'll rotate in the 3D viewport just so I can see the controller better. Then over on the right hand side where it says texture set settings, I'm going to scroll down until I see this bake mesh maps. I'll select this and it'll open up the baking window. On the left hand side, these are all the maps that we are going to bake, and we want all of them turned on, so they should all be checked. Output size should be 2048. I'm going to click on this page icon and choose controller underscore high, and that you'll see that where it says high definition meshes, we have now plugged in our high definition mesh, the high poly. So when we are baking, essentially what we are doing is projecting rays at the model and measuring the distance and the difference between the high poly and the low poly model. We can control the length of that ray, how far it's being projected with this max frontal distance and max rear distance. And if you bake and you see that you're not capturing all the details, then you can come in here and play with this slider a little bit. I'm going to change, I'm going to change mine to 0.02 on the max frontal and the max rear 0.02. For now, I'm going to leave this by default. Anti-aliasing, I'm going to change this to subsampling 4x4. Match, instead of always, I'm going to do by mesh name. And this is the reason why we named all the pieces with the underscore high and underscore low suffix. Next, I'm going to click on this ID button. And where it says color source, vertex color, I want to change this to material color. Then when I'm done with this, that all looks good, I'm going to click on Bake Lambert 1 Mesh Maps. You'll see it goes through the process of baking. There's the ID map. You can see it's working on ambient occlusion, then curvature, position, thickness. When this is done, we're going to look and see what sort of artifacting we're getting, and then we can make adjustments that might need to happen. So this is nice. I can see that the detail from the high poly panel baked on pretty well onto this front plate, so that's good. This is looking pretty good down there. I suspect, yeah, okay, let's check this and that. Okay, so we are getting, and this is to be expected, we are getting some errors, right? Like projection errors where the chord is projecting onto itself where it is very close to itself. And I kind of anticipated this. It's not a big deal. We can paint over this manually inside of Substance Painter. So if you have this error, which you will if you've been following along, don't worry about it. And then this error back here in the plug, again, the viewer's not really going to see this. That being said, we will also paint over this so we don't have this baked information on here. If we wanted to get rid of this error, if there are a couple ways to do it. One, we could use a cage file, and I'm not going to cover that in this basic tutorial. The other way would be to separate out each one of these pieces into its own mesh and then go through the bake by name feature, and that way the surrounding objects won't be being baked onto each other. We'd also have to adjust the UVs for these as well. So if you're getting errors outside of this, then usually it means you need to either adjust your baking settings or you need to adjust the UVs for the low poly. It could also be that you need to soften or harden edges on the low poly. If you're adjusting UVs or hardening and softening edges, you'll need to do that in Maya, and then you'll need to re-export the low poly and then go through this process again if those are the adjustments that you need to make. If you get to this point and the errors that you're running into are just on the cord and on the plug, then you're in a good spot, and that's where we should be for the next video. And this is exciting because at this point we can start getting into texturing, and that's what we will be doing in the next video. I'll see you there.